ghost hunters believe that adobe acts as a conduit, absorbing centuries of human emotion and literally recording the past into the architecture. So you're not just standing in a building, you're potentially standing inside 400 years of absorbed energy and memory.
Hi, I'm Ann Kelly, and I'm going to take you on a haunted historic tour of Santa Fe. Santa Fe is the oldest capital in the U.S. It's known for a lot of things, including its historic architecture, food, culture, and more. So this is the beginning of the tour. We're currently down near Canyon Road and Paseo de Peralta. The tour we're going to take is all walkable. It's one big loop. And where we are right now is the St. Francis Cathedral School. This is a place you can visit from the outside, but not inside because it is closed for reasons unknown. It was built in 1928. And it was founded by the Sisters of Mercy. And it went through a number of different phases. It was reopened for a period of time for an art school. And I was talking to someone earlier that they knew some people that went here, and they said they had no doubt this place is haunted. And a lot of the places we're going to be talking about today are haunted in relationship to the fact that Santa Fe is such an old town, just based upon everything that has happened here. It's really not surprising. So over the years, there's been lots of accounts of different activities that seem rather strange. A lot of the security guards have reported the sounds of children running and laughing. A friend of mine told stories of being in the basement here. Yes, there is a basement, which is rare for Santa Fe, and doors slamming, and just basic kind of unexplained things. There's also been reports of flickering lights from the upper stories, even when the power was turned off. Another thing to note is the next building that we're going to be walking by is now a hotel, but used to be the hospital here in Santa Fe, and as a result is said to be haunted as well.
People have reported seeing a figure in a traditional brown Franciscan robe walking the halls of the building. But when people would try to approach him, he would vanish into the adobe.
Now we're here at the Drury Hotel, which is just next door to the last location we were at. The Drury Hotel used to be the main hospital in Santa Fe. So as a result, when you're walking around the hotel, you'll notice all of the doorways are extra wide as a result of the need to get beds and medical devices through. So now a hotel, but definitely has some ghost stories as a result of being a hospital. So adjacent the Drury is Marion Hall, which, as I understand it, is actually owned by the Drury, but is not open to the public. It was built in 1910 and was a sanitarium back in the day. A lot of people here were here to be treated for tuberculosis. As a result, a lot of people were cured here, but a lot of people died as well. As legend goes, a few times they've attempted to fix up this building because it is technically kind of prime real estate in Santa Fe, but the word is every time they would try to update it, they had a lot of contractors that had tools missing, doors slamming, different things like that. There's also the possibility that it's tricky due to preservation rules, that type of thing. But one thing I can tell you for sure is there is no electricity in this building, and it's very common that people see a light on in the top story. And a friend of mine experienced that, in fact. So we're in the Rose Room at the La Posada Hotel in Santa Fe on East Palace Street. This is called the Rose Room because Julia Staub, who lived in this building, which was a mansion built back in 1882, was obsessed with roses. In fact, some people still report smelling roses throughout the hotel. She originally came from Germany, and as part of her husband's desire to get her to relocate, he spared no expense in the building of this mansion, including all of these rose details that you find all around the hotel. And in this room, you'll see more of the roses that she loved so very much. And you'll see more of that as you walk around the hotel. There's a really interesting collection of art throughout as well. The ghost of Julia Staub has been reported all over the hotel, and by the fireplace is one of those places. There's been other reports of chandeliers swinging when there's no wind, the scent of roses, rooms getting cold. And it's also been reported she doesn't really like it when renovations happen. So we're up on the second floor of the La Posada, where Julia Staub's bedroom is. Julia came to Santa Fe, New Mexico to live with her husband in this mansion that he built for her. They were both big socialites. They had a ballroom here. They did a lot of entertaining. And overall, life was really, really good. She met her demise after her 8th child died. And then things took a turn for the worst. Because he loved her, he didn't want to send her off anywhere, but she was really having a rough time. So she spent the last 13 years of her life here in this house, in that bedroom, which is right down the hall. And it was a very, very terrible time for her. As a result, she's never wanted to leave this house, which is why people continue to see her. And as you can see, there's more roses throughout. The rumor is that Julia overall is very friendly, and people that stay in her room typically make it a point to say hello to her. So if you're staying at the La Posada, you can request Julia's room. It's room 100. There are currently guests in here, so we're not able to go inside, but I did want to say hello to Julia from the outside. Hello, Julia.
The first documented sighting was by a janitor who was mopping by the fireplace and saw a woman in a dark Victorian dress with white hair up in a bun and he was so startled he refused to finish his shift.
So we're on Palace Avenue. Most of this building behind me, which spans the street, was built in the 1700s. It's also adjacent the Cathedral Basilica and about a half a block from the historic Plaza. Back during World War II, it served as the secret reception center for the Los Alamos laboratory. So many, many interesting and secretive things went down on this block. So we're down on the historic Santa Fe Plaza right now, and behind me is the Palace of the Governors. It was built in 1610, and it is the oldest continuously occupied public building in the United States. And you should definitely look this place up because it has an amazing and wild history to it.
Security guards and late-night strollers have reported seeing figures in 17th century Spanish military attire, complete with helmets and leather breastplates. They're usually described to be pacing and guarding their posts and don't interact with modern people. There are a lot of places that one would call haunted. There's so many layers of history in Santa Fe, some bloody battles. Over a long span of time, a lot has gone down.
So one of the legends here in New Mexico is the legend of La Llorona. She's a woman who is known to have drowned her children in the river, and it is believed, or people often see her in the arroyos and ditches here in New Mexico. So if you're out wandering by the river here, keep an eye out.
La Llorona is described as a tall, thin woman in a flowing white gown, sometimes a tattered wedding dress, with long dark hair. Her face is often described as skeletal or hideously disfigured by grease.
So we're standing here between what is known as the oldest house, right down there, and the San Miguel Chapel. The San Miguel Chapel is the oldest still functioning church in the United States. The oldest house, there's a lot of questions about how old it actually is. It's documented as being built in 1640, but many believe that the foundation actually goes way, way back, and it was built on another building entirely. So there's a lot of mystery there. So there is a legend here that back in the day, one of the Spanish colonists was talking to two women who lived in the oldest house, and they were known to be witches. And he was in love with a woman, and so they created a love potion for him. But as part of the love potion, I believe he was supposed to eat a pig's heart, and he just couldn't bring himself to do it. Therefore, the potion failed, and he was kind of upset because of that. As a result, the witches got very upset with him, and they decapitated him. So legend says that oftentimes on the street, you will see his head rolling. And this is something that has been cited by many people. So we're on the side of the San Miguel Church now, and we have no idea what that sound is. And I will also add about our last location, which is just adjacent, the chapel, that there was a basement, which seems like an interesting choice to me when you're exhuming a graveyard. But it has been reported that a lot of the basement windows, which are visible from the street, people will often see shadow figures, flashing lights, and that type of thing. And I will add about the San Miguel Chapel is that there are also bodies buried underneath that, only that was intentional. The San Miguel Chapel was built by a group of people who were indigenous to Mexico, outside of Mexico City, in fact, and they ended up coming to Santa Fe with the Spanish conquistadors, and they built that church for themselves. A lot of the more aristocratic folks lived on the other side of the river from La Llorona, but this barrio was their part of town, so they built this church for their personal worship. And they believed that by burying bodies underneath the building, that was an honor to those parishioners. So we're in the final location of today's tour. This particular building is much newer than the others we've visited. It was built in the 1960s. However, in order to build this structure, they had to exhume bodies because it was a massive graveyard from the 1860s. And it was one of those graveyards where there were a lot of mass burials for unnamed people, that type of thing. So while they allegedly exhumed all of the bodies, most people believe that there's still quite a few under the earth. And that is really the case in a lot of places in a place as old as Santa Fe. So there's a lot of other places we could have visited, and we could have dove in deeper into a lot of these stories. So keep an eye out for future videos.